If you want to pump your body and expand your mind, there's only one place to go. Mind Pump. Mind Pump with your hosts, Sal DiStefano, Adam Schaefer, and Justin Andrews.
In this episode of Mind Pump, for the first 33 minutes, we get into our introductory conversation. We talk about the Mind Pump photo shoot.
What?
Look forward to that nude calendar, ladies.
We're going to need a lot of Photoshop.
Just kidding.
Demand is high.
We talk about Justin's Res Erection Juice.
Thank you, Organifi.
It's so tasty.
It's Organifi Red Juice. He had it pre-workout. Actually gave him a good pump.
Yeah.
We are sponsored by Organifi. If you go to Organifi.com/mindpump and enter the code MindPump, you'll get 20% off. Then we talk about the NFL player who got busted for insider trading.
What an idiot.
He got all the answers correct. That's not what you're supposed to do when you cheat.
You idiot.
Then we talk about the dangers of quick money, the Mr. Rogers documentary,
Gotta watch this.
marketing to
Won't you be my
kids,
neighbor?
and Justin's obesity letter.
Oh, man.
Find out what this is about.
And that's why I mentioned to Justin, he should probably go to Health IQ, get some life insurance.
Well, now I qualify. I've gone through this competition.
Yeah, exactly. So Health IQ, one of our sponsors, if you go to healthiq.com/mindpump, you'll get a free quote. Then we get into the questions. The first question was, if you were to train a power lifter, how would you do it? So we have a nice programming discussion in that part of this episode.
Little mind mapping.
We also
there.
plug our boys there, too.
Jordan Shallow and Ben Pollock, go check them out on Instagram.
You could find Jordan Shallow at the muscle doc, _muscle_doc, and then Ben Pollock at PH Deadlift.
There he is. Then the next
AKA
question was,
Beast and Beast Jr.
fasted cardio versus fasted weightlifting. Is one better than the other? Or are they equal? Or are we splitting hairs? It probably has to do with the hairs. Next question was, how do you properly train a person who has thyroid problems? So we talk a lot about exercising and training with hormonal issues. How do you balance yourself out? And the final question, what are some good strategies to implement for someone on a lower income that still wants to eat quality ingredients? Now, we did mention two of our other sponsors because they do provide very, very quality, very good for you type food at discounted prices. Thrive Market is the largest online retailer of non-GMO organic products. We also got you hooked up with them. If you go to thrivemarket.com/mindpump, you'll get 1 month free membership, $20 off your first three orders of $49 or more, and free shipping. And then Justin mentioned Butcher Box. They serve grass-fed meats right to your door.
Grass-fed,
best.
grass-finished.
The best.
I lived off this.
If you go to butcherbox.com/mindpump, you will get free bacon. Yep, that's right. Free bacon, 2 ribeyes, $10 off, and free shipping on your first order. Also, there's only 5 days left.
What?
1, 2, 3, 4,
5 days left for the MAPS Strong launch promo. If you go to mapsstrong.com, enter the code STRONG30, no space, strong, and the number 30, you'll get $30 off and a free MAPS Strong t-shirt. Remember, this is the program designed with a strong man to make you strong, lean, functional, have stamina. It's a fun program. It is very different from anything you've ever done. New exercises. It's a blast.
You're going to enjoy it.
Again, STRONG30 is the code. Go to mapstrong.com, get $30 off and a free shirt. This promotion ends Sunday the 16th.
T-shirt time! What time is it, Doug?
It's T-shirt time.
There it is. I want to see how long it took before.
All right, we had 10 reviews. We're giving out 3 shirts.
All right.
The winners are Michigander Ecos, Sheehan Fitness, Sollywood 007. All of you are winners. Send the name I just read to iTunes at mindpumpmedia.com. Send your shirt size, your shipping address, and we'll get that right out to ya.
How you guys feeling right now?
Man, that's a lot of lifting.
Yeah.
Damn, dude.
Photo shoots are deceiving, and I'm not going to lie. We're getting older. We might have to get some fake weights.
Oh, my
We might have to
God.
get some fake weights, dude.
That's the day.
Because I tell you what, even 135, you lift it up enough times, boy, you get fucking tired.
Well, especially because a photographer's like, hold it.
Yeah.
Hold it.
Yeah, it's
Good.
all the isometric stuff, right? I noticed that, too.
And you're trying not to look stupid with your face, and you're trying to do all, and
Well, we
it's
should
like-
tell
Which
our
is
audience.
really hard for you.
We should tell our audience what's going on right now. Like, we're in the middle of, getting a facelift, right? Not us, literally, but our brand, and we've been waiting for this for some time.
We're getting our tits done.
It's been a while since we've shared with the audience kind of the behind the scenes stuff with Mind Pump and the growth of Mind Pump. And this is kind of, I remember when we first started doing this and I brought Taylor on board, and Taylor was just had such a hard time with the website. He was so frustrated with it because he felt like it wasn't a representation of the brand and didn't want this look. And
I didn't disagree with him at all.
Right. And I remember you were the same way too at the beginning. And, I had to get you guys to calm the fuck down for a minute because there's other parts of the business that were far more important at that time. And that a part of that is providing incredible content for you guys for free and at a pace that most of you can't even consume it at. And then we come back and we address the website. So we're here now. It's exciting to clean it up.
Coming full circle.
And they wanted a bunch of photos of us doing all kinds of shit. We did exercises. Then we did a bunch of posing photos and photos together. And then they're super awkward. Like they make you stand together. They're like, all right, now have fun. Like,
do something with your hands.
Don't look so tense.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay.
I'm having fun.
Yeah.
Like it's really, weird. And then, Justin farts and everybody laughs.
And
It's perfect.
Adam tickles you in a weird place.
And then we get the best absolute photo. But then it's exhausting because you're lifting the whole time, posing for these photos, not realizing that is a very difficult, exhaustive part. And then at the end, he's like, all right, now you guys can actually just work out. Like just do your normal workout. And I'm like, this is not, I'm blasted. Justin literally was laying down on the ground, did not want to do anything.
Yeah.
So I brought him a little pre-workout.
Dude, I've been depleted this whole competition, man. You guys,
what was that?
You guys don't even know.
What concoction did you make him?
I just gave him the red juice.
Yeah.
The Organifi
The
red
resurrection juice, as I call it.
The resurrection juice. You just dump it all over him.
I thought you called it the erection
The
juice for
third
a
day.
second.
I rise again.
Oh, I didn't think it was red. I couldn't see what it was.
It worked.
It did.
It got you picked up.
It actually got me, it got me going.
It's the beet juice and the rhodiola. Rhodiola gives people a good feeling, a lot of people a good feeling.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily respond well to it, but I know you and Doug like rhodiola a lot.
I do respond well with that. And also, dude, the beet juice, so I've read the same studies you've read with beet juice and how that is a great natural source, for this type of energy and almost like a pre-workout
you get the
effect.
Pump. You get the pump from that.
That's what it is.
It's actually the most effective nitric oxide booster that you can find. Forget citrulline and arginine.
And it comes from nature.
Yeah, beets.
Is that true? Is it better than citrulline and arginine? Because that's everybody rants
It's the
and
gold
raves.
standard, right?
Right, that's the big, in the pre-workout world, everyone's debating over who has more citrulline or arginine inside their pre-workout.
Actual beet juice will show real performance increases and benefits. Citrulline is mixed. Arginine doesn't show any.
So is it just because the stupid tingly feeling that's why it's there?
No, you're thinking beta-alanine.
Oh, you're right. Beta-alanine's the one that makes you
beta-alanine's legit for stamina. That's legit. Will give you a couple more
So
reps.
then what's the purpose of the citrulline? I know that...
So arginine is a precursor to nitric oxide. So the theory is if you eat a bunch of arginine, then your body will produce more nitric oxide.
Which is still just a theory, right?
Well, it works if you take it intravenously. But if you consume it in your mouth, like most people take it.
I was going to say, are you rectally doing this?
Yeah, you could do it the Ben Greenfield way.
Again, why I say it's still considered a theory, right? This is something that we have not proven actually will literally...
Well, studies have shown it doesn't do anything. So when you eat it, your body degrades it and it doesn't work. Citrulline doesn't get degraded like arginine, and citrulline gets turned into arginine by the body, which then boosts nitric oxide. So citrulline actually boosts nitric oxide, and they can measure it, whereas arginine doesn't. But beet juice does all of that, plus it has studies that show actual performance benefits, especially with...
I've heard a lot of athletes rave about it.
Oh, it's like I said, it's one of the few supplements that, and it's... Why isn't this big... It's becoming a big thing, but why is it not as popular in the muscle building world? Because it's a food, maybe. I don't know. Because you can go buy beets.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
Simple as that.
Wow,
but
I didn't know that it rivaled your. I didn't know it rivaled that.
For a pump, it's one of the best things you could. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I've taken it. I mean, I do the Christmas blend. That's what we started. We started that a long time ago.
Red and green.
Yeah. I just mix them together.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah,
so.
no. I mean, it tastes good by itself. What I like about it too is it gives me this little boost of energy, but it doesn't feel like I'm hyped up on a bunch of caffeine.
It's not a stimulant.
Right.
No.
So if you're somebody who was looking for a little bit of energy, but then you also don't like the way you feel when you're on a bunch of caffeine, this is a really good option.
That would be. That's what I typically. If people ask me what should they take pre-workout, what I typically recommend is either coffee or caffeine or something that contains caffeine and the Organifi red juice. I found that to be the smoothest, nicest type of
Did you guys see how many bottles Brett like smuggled on his way out.
Wait a minute, hold on.
I was like, what did he do, dude?
I gave him the green light, and I'm like, oh, he took it full advantage of
Did
that.
you take a bunch of supplements?
Yeah, he must have took fucking
like
$300 worth.
Organifi, dude.
Did he really?
Go tell him to give us some more.
I told him, I said, well, Organifi sends us a pretty nice shipment every single month. So I said, go for it, man. Use it.
Send him an invoice.
Yeah. The next when we pay our marketing team next, there'll be a subtraction on there. Mine is $450 in supplements.
Jesus
what,
Christ. Dude? Did you guys see in the news about what's it called? The best burger place in California. What is it? In-N-Out.
Yeah.
No.
You guys didn't see what's going on?
Oh, because they made a donation to the GOP? Is that
Yeah. Did you see that?
No.
I just saw the headline. I didn't read it.
So apparently the In-N-Out Burger, the company or whatever, donated $25,000, which is chump change for In-N-Out, to the Republican Party, right? So they wrote a check to the Californian Republican Party for $25,000, and it was a public filing. They have to put it out in public, and so people can find it. So now you've got all these people.
Democrats are up in arms about that. Huh?
Yeah, all these people who are boycotting, In-N-Out for doing that because they're like, "Fuck you, support Trump. Fuck you. We're not going to eat your food anymore."
Wow.
I like this.
In-N-Out's conservative. You know that.
Yeah, aren't they a Christian owned?
Yeah.
I think there's like a Bible verse on there.
Yeah, on the bottom of all their stuff.
You know what? This is what I like about this is the way you should protest. Even if I disagree with you, I don't care. You can take your money, and you know what'll happen?
It makes sense.
If enough people do this, then companies will think twice about putting their money in and trying to donate.
Right.
I like that. I like that people do it that way. I hate the other way people do it, where they try to interrupt business by protesting on their property.
Did you guys see the line? I'm sure you did because you don't follow probably any sports stuff. But there's a linebacker in the NFL, Kendricks. I forget his first name.
Johnny. I don't know. It was worth a shot.
That's a good guess.
He got busted for insider trading. Guy's never traded stocks before.
What was he trading?
Listen, so you guys never traded stocks before.
Wait, where does he play for?
I don't know who he plays for.
Okay.
He plays for the football league.
Yeah,
Stop.
I'm sorry.
With the Captain Obvious.
Yeah. I'll find the article and then I'll share it with you. I read it earlier this morning, but he opens up an account with like 80,000 in it. And he buys 4 stocks. All 4 stocks go to like 1.5 million. He hits a home run on like every one of them.
Oh,
you've never
that's convenient.
You've never traded before. You're an NFL player.
Oh, come on, man!
You open up with 80,000. All 4 stocks you buy go fucking ape shit, and you make fucking millions of dollars.
What do they say? You're not supposed to telegraph your punch.
Yeah, dude.
So what do you know what the stocks were? Or?
I mean, the article talked about it, but that doesn't matter. Why does that matter?
Well, it would be interesting to see where he would get that information.
I mean, you're an NFL player. You're around all kinds of big,
and that's big wigs.
So this is really popular right now. If you don't know this, I mentioned this before a little bit on the podcast when we were talking about the Warriors and Kevin Durant coming over. So one of the new moves and it's not like brand new. It's relatively new. That's becoming popular to attract players to your city. Is it's not just about the NFL or the NBA contract you get, but these agents are also lining you up with
real business.
Yeah. And it's smart. It's
very smart.
From a professional standpoint, it's really, really smart for the athlete to not put all his eggs in one basket and be like, it's all about my career because if I blow my knee out. But how cool is that? You come over to Silicon Valley, you start with the Warriors. And
it's an exciting trend because I've always wanted athletes to think bigger about because their careers are so short right. and having policies within like the NFL or the NBA or whatever are great, but like it's really up to the individual to get smarter about how they invest.
Oh, the stats are ridiculous on how many of them go broke.
Oh well, the difference between earning your money in a way where you're, let's say, an entrepreneur versus earning it playing sports. It's different in the sense that you're really good at sports.
Well,
they're
closer. Yeah. They're closer to people who win the lottery.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
it's a lot of hard work.
Right.
It's definitely.
Not to take anything from their athletic ability, but when you get that flux of money, when you're a college person and you get a college kid and you get no money, then all of a sudden you get a contract for millions of dollars. There's something to be said.
It's unlimited.
I mean, and I say this even in the current business that we're in right now, like. I would have never wanted our business to grow faster than it did. And that sounds stupid, right? If someone's listening like, that sounds really stupid, why wouldn't you want because it's scaled just right.
The infrastructure is in
right.
there yet.
Yeah, it's allowed us to be able to scale up a little bit, then take those funds, reinvest in the business, learn strategies, make mistakes, learn from those mistakes, have to budget, have to be smart.
Well, that's just it, is that when you do well at a sport and you get paid for that, that doesn't mean you have any skill with money. So now you've got all this money and you don't know how to keep it. A lot of people don't realize this, and I know this because half of my family are investment bankers. They work with, millionaires on investments, and they tell me that one of the hardest things to do, besides making the money, is how to keep it.
Yeah.
That's a very, very difficult thing to do. And if you don't believe me, look, I can rattle off a bunch of celebrities and athletes who at some point were worth 10, 15, 20, 30 million dollars or more and now are bankrupt. There's artists and musicians like that.
So I believe we're going to see this, and I think we're at the beginning of it. And I know I just recently, not that long ago, on a podcast went on a rant about these Instagram celebrities that blow up and they have businesses where they're making $600,000 to $1 million a year, and all these kids are worshiping them. And I'm like, these fuckers don't know how to run a business.
Yeah.
They're having quick, instant fame that's being able to convert into quick money because they sell T-shirts or they do something, or they sell supplements, or they do something gimmicky, and it's not a legitimate business model. And eventually that shit comes out from underneath you, and hopefully they were smart and invested their money in other places. Some of them might be doing that, but I bet you a big majority of them are reinvesting in Ferraris and Lamborghinis and the fucking high life.
What's interesting is like the only parachute or the only thing I see like any business people coming in and kind of showing them is like the creation of these mastermind groups and these sort of like these other extensions
That's
of
a
like
bubble.
So but that literally is the only strategy I see that is like an extension of them just getting advertisement money for showing their ass.
If this guy did do insider training, he's an idiot, because if he did do it, he's a clown, because
he did. He's busted.
For sure they caught him.
Yeah, busted.
Like, where did you learn how to cheat? Like, everybody in elementary school understands that if you have the answers to the test, you purposely miss question.
No, exactly.
You never go 100%.
You get 10 stocks and you make 6 of them and you invest a little bit of money and you let them do whatever, and then you pick the 4 winners.
Or you pick one winner and you pick a bunch of losers because it's so obvious, But what it reminds me of is, I had some real close friends who got into the the home loan business, the finance business when the housing market was exploding, especially in the Bay Area. Before the 2008 crash, I knew guys that were sales counselors in gyms or sales managers in gyms, decent sales guys. They weren't the best. Most of them were good C and B players. They could sell. They knew how to close, but they weren't like great, whatever. They went into this market where it was the fucking Wild West, and these guys were making $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 a year and just buying expensive cars, blowing it on parties, blowing it on drugs, blowing it on whatever. And then after 2008, like one of my buddies went from making $750,000 a year, no joke, to the following year after 2008, barely made $65,000.
Wow.
That's how big of a cut that happened to him when the market went down. But he was so ill prepared.
What a change of lifestyle that must have promoted.
He was so ill prepared.
I had buddies that lost 5, 6 houses.
That's rough.
Yeah. It lost everything, and he went into deep depression as a result of it. And it's really crazy.
Quick money's dangerous, man. Quick money is really dangerous, and it's funny that it's also, I constantly have to remind myself that on the journey that we're currently on, even ourselves, that it's like, there's good parts of it being hard and a grind and having setbacks and struggles, because that's the learning curve that I think everybody has to go to. You get all this flux of money out of nowhere. Again, I remember when we first started and saying, like, how many people that have a business right now and say it's successful. Say you run a nice little business and you make a little bit of money for yourself, and I said, hey, I want to give you $10 million because I like you and I like your business so much. Like, how many people would really know how to spend that $10 million to make sure they make $20 or $30 million?
They wouldn't know what to do with it.
Most people wouldn't. Let's be honest.
They would have no idea what to do with it.
And I feel okay with saying that I didn't. When where were we at? A lot of the things that we have done have kind of unfolded, as we've continued to grow and learn and to push different avenues of business. There's been a lot of things that we looked at and thought, oh, this was the direction we want to go, and then find out, oh, that's not that important. And then other areas that we probably we postponed longer than we should have. Like we talk about the YouTube channel a lot of the times, that was a learning lesson for us. We could have been, I was just listening to I sent you guys listen to that Gary Vee?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Was that great or what, dude?
Awesome.
Talking about that. I thought that was really, really, really cool. And we've made mistakes like that within the business that you think is a good idea, and you find out later on it's not. But
no, my goal is to, as things grow, my goal is to put myself in a position where in 5 to 10 years, I don't have to work. Not that I don't want to work, because I'll probably never stop working. It gives me purpose.
Yeah,
and
you just have financial freedom.
Yeah, to the point where, and not like millions of dollars, but enough to where, okay, if I wanted to.
You're good.
Yeah, if I really, really wanted to, I could stop everything, and I'm making this income from my investments. Now, what does that require? Well, it requires that you don't live, beyond your means. That's all it means. It just means you're making tons of money. Well, you leave a little bit better than you are, but really look and examine your life. And the reality is, like, I know me, right? I know how much more I'll elevate my living standards, and I know where the limit is. And there really is a limit for me. I could make billions of dollars, and I would never live above a certain limit. Not because I think it's wrong or whatever. I just don't see a lot of value in it. Figure that out for yourself. Figure where that is. Make it realistic. And everything beyond that, take that money and figure out ways to set yourself up so you don't have to work later on. Because
you've got to watch. I cannot believe that I waited this long to share this on the podcast, because I wanted to go see it. I finally watched it when I went on Apple. Is the Mr. Rogers documentary?
Oh,
dude, so fucking good on another level. Good.
Really,
I recommend everybody watch it. I watched him as a kid. I did not know half of who he really was and what his mission was and what he was trying to do.
About him, I thought he was a Navy SEAL.
That's a myth.
They talk about it in the documentary.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah. They talk about he was actually a minister.
Oh wow!
So, the story is fucking awesome. And one of the things he touches on and he talks about, because he started in 1968, was his concern for this new medium, television.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminds me of kind of what we're seeing going on with Instagram and the fear of
the
your
internet.
kids. Yeah, and what he saw was how it is an incredible tool to learn from and to teach others. And he saw the way it was being used, and he feared for children. Right. And because he saw the commercials and the cartoons and the type of
agendas in the background,
the content, and one of the things that he addresses. And you think back, and now I think today where we are, and think, wow, how different it was probably in the 60s and 70s, and how we are as consumers. And he touches on this, like they were training kids to be consumers at such a young age,
sure. Yeah.
And at a level they would never be advertised. The kids weren't picking up magazines and watching and getting advertisement that way. You know what I'm saying? They're not driving and looking at billboards or seeing things like that. So the advertising wasn't geared towards children really at that point. It really started to ramp up when television came out, because you had cartoons and kids watching TV, and then out comes like all these
sugar cereal commercials with the crackhead bunnies and.
It's funny, before you were able
Toucan Sam,
before you could record your TV chat shows and fast forward commercials and stuff like that, and if you paid attention to the commercials on kids' TV shows, there wouldn't be a single product, maybe 1 out of 100, that you would think would be good for your kid. No joke. It's 99% terrible, shitty
just
food, garbage food for your kids.
Yeah.
Like 99% of it. You watch and you're just like, this is
part of your balanced breakfast.
And so what happens is, if you're a parent, and look, the responsibility falls on the parent, okay? It just does. That's the way it is. But if you're a parent and your kid is on media all the time, believe it or not, you are competing with that media over the influence of your child.
Oh,
That's
you
really
hear it
what
right away, like even a toy commercial, whatever comes on, immediately they both turn to me, I want that, Dad. I want that for Christmas. And they're already like making mental note. They got sold so easily on that commercial. I was like, whoa, that is powerful.
It is. Think that didn't exist that long ago.
No.
And you think about, I think the point he makes, and I think he was right, when you think about us now as adults, we really are the keeping up with the Joneses and this living beyond our means, and we're such a consumer society now that we probably weren't really like that 60 plus years ago.
Yeah.
Not like we are now, where the credit cards are and we run debt up like crazy.
Name brands like mean everything.
Yeah.
As usual, it's, something good. Humans there's always can be a bad side of it. And the good side of it is that we've created a system and a society that we now have the means to be able to do that, which is a good thing. The bad part about it is, because we've raised in this culture of consumerism, that we place purpose and value on things. And that's the mistake. So it's okay to buy things. It's okay to have the means for all these things. That's wonderful. I mean, less people starve today. More people have houses. More people have central heating and cars. And, it's a lot more people have clothes. It's just a lot better today than it was, 50 or 100 or 200, especially 200 years ago. However, one of the side effects of that is we have now started to worship and value things instead of things that actually give us purpose. And so what you end up with is a bunch of people, a whole generation that is raised and grown up without real hardships, without lots of the classical hardships, I should say, because there's always hardships, but not the classical ones like, oh my God, where do we have a place to live? Oh my God, we don't have food. Right. I need to hunt. Like, they're not a problem.
We have to go to war.
Yeah, not really a problem, but they're raised in this society where it's like, I want more things, and they seek and search for purpose in things. And you'll never find it. You'll never find it in things, and then you end up getting anxious and depressed and whatever. And that becomes kind of the problem. But the very thing that causes, or the very thing that communicates that, which is media, is the very thing that can counter it. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing I love about media so much, especially new media, is that you can put out counter, like a lot like what we're doing.
Yes and no, but then you get scared. Then it gets a little scary sometimes too. And I didn't know this, but so he ran for like 5 years or so, like just ratings exploding. Everyone loves him. He's like super famous and everything like that. But it was funded by the government.
Yep. PBS.
Oh, yeah, yes. PBS, yeah. And then and we had a conservative president at the time. Well, in comes Nixon afterwards. And Nixon wants to abolish it.
Sure.
So here's actually, and you can look this up on YouTube. You can actually watch Mr. Rogers speak in front of Congress. Incredible fucking, and it's in the documentary.
Yeah.
But if you just want to watch that, YouTube, Mr. Rogers in front of Congress fighting for the funding, and it's fucking really cool.
Does he win or what?
He does.
Yeah.
And it's cool how he wins.
And here's the thing, like, when it comes to that, exactly what you're talking about, like, I mean, yes, they funded his programs. Government also funded a lot of other stuff that told us, eating a particular way was healthy when it wasn't, or you should do this, it's good for you when it really isn't. So I don't necessarily trust any of that. But back then, and actually up until not that long ago, bandwidth was very limited. And so when it came to TV, it was the barrier to get on TV was so high. Even in 1968, it was so difficult and so high. You need a lot of money, you need a lot of connections. Today, the barrier to get a video or information online is super low. It's super, super low.
Yeah, you say
so
that.
Mr.
But
Rogers.
So don't you fear though, like what we see going on with Alex Jones and things like that, where people are getting pulled off their medium and people are censoring them.
Well, but he still has companies. He still has his own website.
He does right now.
Yeah,
he does right. Yeah. But I mean, you got to think that
don't let anybody control that. That's just it.
Right. That is the little scary part about that. Always. Is like, yes, I agree with you that we do live in a very cool time where if bad stuff comes out or shitty information, you can counter that by starting your own YouTube channel and pushing it out there. But then you start to see these extreme examples of like the Alex Joneses and stuff that get pulled, and it makes me kind of wonder, like, you saw what's going on with Trump. Trump's got some issue going on right now with Google. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that.
Oh yeah. Look that up, Doug. Google that. Trump battling Google right now. And I just saw this on the news, I think yesterday or the day before, and they're saying that they're filtering some of his stuff, like, so that when you Google him, only like all the negative, all the negative stuff does. So he's in a battle with them right now. I haven't had a chance to dive in deeper. I thought maybe you guys seen it, Sal. I thought for sure.
No,
interesting.
No, I mean, Google's a private company.
Yeah, again, same thing.
They can do that.
They can do whatever
here's
they
the
want.
deal. Let's say that Google and Facebook all of a sudden are like, screw. Not that they would do this, but let's just say they did, and they're like, screw this particular political party side. Let's say they said, screw liberals or screw conservatives. Yeah. We're not showing conservatives anymore. Conservatives could go make their own. Somebody would make a conservative channel, and you'd have enough people to come over and make it. Just creates a new market. You just got to kind of wait it out and see what happens. But it is very.
Well, I mean, isn't it sure how either, I don't know who came first, Fox and CNN happened, right? I'm sure one happened and then the one was
CNN was first,
right? CNN happened and then Fox was probably the response to
and
that.
And Fox gets more viewers, I think, than all the other ones. I think even combined.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I think it's the highest rated. Dang. 24-hour news in terms of viewership.
Unless you're Joe Rogan.
And Joe Rogan gets more views and listens than all of them.
That's just it, man.
I love it.
Hey, look, man, anytime, what makes humans special, people think, oh, we're so intelligent. Well, on your own, you're not really that special. The reason what makes humans intelligent is our ability to stand on the shoulders of people before us, and that came from
compounding effect.
That all started that really exploded when somebody came up with the truly abstract and strange idea of being able to create symbols that represent sounds, and you combine those symbols to make words, and those words mean things. A very fucking radical, abstract thought, if you really think about it. It wasn't pictures like here's an elephant. It was like this symbol is the sound sh or whatever, and they wrote things out, and now you can record things, and now I make discoveries. I record them. I teach people. They record theirs. We die, and a new person is born, and guess what? They don't start from scratch. They read what I wrote, and then they create their own.
All that came from aliens, though, right?
Probably. They probably did. But our ability
the Anunnaki.
Our ability to communicate, share information, and record information is directly related toward the speed at which we progress. And we are progressing. And I don't know what the destination is. This is the problem. The destination may be self-destruction. It may be enlightenment. Who knows? But we're heading there much fucking faster today with new media than ever before. Yeah. And that's fucking exciting to me.
It is. It's crazy.
I use us as an example all the time. Our show would not be possible today if we were in old media, if this were 20 years ago, all of us would have got together and done what? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know.
We would have wrote a book that's maybe we could sell in the back of, Muscle and Fitness.
We may have had to tour, and get in front of people one-on-one. That would have been quite the hustle we would have.
Oh, it would never worked.
Yeah, it
wouldn't happen.
We would own a
Not
gym.
At this stage in life.
No, it wouldn't happen.
We'd be gym owners.
Yeah, we would.
But
We'd
I also
have a really cool gym.
I also think that's that was part of the brilliance was, I saw, as much as we saw the need in the fitness industry, we also saw where the medium was going. Talking about Mr. Rogers today.
Yeah, you got to look ahead.
He saw right away this television thing that lots of people were just consuming. And he saw it as a tool, that's how I looked at podcasting. I saw podcasting and people doing it and listening to it and how easy it was to get involved in it and how easy it was to share it and download.
Dude, way more convenient than radio. Come on, man. I remember I would get into shows from radio and, you'd have to listen for specific things on a Friday at between this and this. And I'm and then I got my class schedule interrupted that. And then I stopped listening. It's so inconvenient. But I love that show,
Yep, exactly. And I also have to mention one of our other sponsors. I want to make sure before I forget. If you're listening right now, and you'll die at some point, which is all of you.
Statistically, if you're going to die.
I wonder if Health IQ likes us scaring people into contracts. Right?
I don't think they care.
Listen, you're great.
As long as they get the contract.
It's a gangster move.
Health IQ is life insurance, and it's designed for fit and healthy people. So you go on their website, you get a free quote. But it's designed for people who are fit and healthy. So
it's you guys,
which is great if you're.
Or it will be you.
I'll tell you why this is great too. As a man, I weigh 200 pounds and I'm about 6 foot. That puts me on the heavier side of the what is it, BMR or whatever?
BMI,
BMI, excuse me.
BMI, yeah.
But I'm lean. I'm obviously lean. But if you don't know that, I may get a higher premium.
I'm considered obese when I do this.
Oh, dude,
the regular doctor chart.
I told you what happened to me, right? I went into one of those. I wanted to get a checkup from Kaiser, and they assessed everything. The doctor didn't even look at me, right? Yeah. And basically got a BMI score that was really high. It was obese. And so I get a letter from their clinic downstairs, for their obesity clinic, saying that hey, I understand, you had a visit, and it was giving me some kind of trial offer to go into the clinic.
You should have took a picture of that, dude.
Oh my God, I do. I still have it.
Well, Sal and I have been meaning to talk to you.
Come on, man.
That's a bad example. That's when it was accurate.
Stop it. I'll open up a can on that one.
Did I tell you?
But now I qualify for our sponsor. So there you go.
No, Health IQ is life. It's good price level. Did I tell you this? Last night I was hanging out with Jessica and Christina Rice, and we were all talking about the show, and they're like, "You guys pick on Justin too much about his weight on the show." Shut up, he doesn't care.
I love Christina, but come on, man, that's funny, dude. Yeah, I say bring it more. I feel
like I haven't had any fat jokes. In fact, I feel like you've been jabbed about the ball thing way more than I think. I feel like I've been on the hot seat.
Well, I tried to explain to Jessica and Christina.
We pushed in that direction.
I tried to explain to them how guys operate, because girls just don't typically operate this way. This is what guys do. Yeah. We don't make fun of each other with shit that doesn't exist like girls do. Oh, yeah. We make fun of real things about each other. Like real
I make fun of your voice all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
And I appreciate it.
And it's like I just constantly, I can't help myself.
And if listen, and here's the thing: if I show that it bothers me at all,
you get more.
Oh, it's coming. More's coming.
It gets a lot worse.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was trying to break that down for them. Like, no. Please don't say that to Justin, or don't tell me that, because I'm gonna do it more now. What are you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we talked about this before. That didn't we debate this, or at least speculate on this, that it was something that's just innate in men, as this survival of the fittest type of thing, where it's
test each other.
Yeah, like it's like we're like going to war.
Makes perfect sense.
Like if we're thousands of years back, and I'm picking my team of guys that's going out.
You're not
hunting.
going to pick the guy that's his feelings hurt.
No, yeah. If it's the four of us in this room, and I insult all of you, and the guy who buckles and fucking cries, it's like, you stay with the chicks and you fucking gather, because the three of us are going to go hunting. Like you're not watching my back.
Here we go.
Yeah,
you're not invited.
Yeah, you're not when the fucking tiger jumps out. You're the one who screams and runs the other direction.
You're the first to get eaten.
Yeah, you're crying because I call you Bucktooth. Yeah. What are you going to do when the woolly mammoth fucking stampedes against us? You're going to cry. You stay home. We're going to go hunting now.
We can't have you in the group.
This Quah is brought to you by Organifi. For those days you fall short on getting your organic veggies or whole food nutrition, Organifi fills the gap with laboratory-tested, certified organic superfoods to help give your health and performance the added edge. Try Organifi totally risk-free for 60 days by going to Organifi.com. That's Organifi.com. And use the coupon code MINDPUMP for 20% off at checkout. All right, our first question is from Freeman Axtell. If you were to train a power lifter, how would you do it?
Very carefully.
Heavy weights.
Yeah.
Next
Start with heavy weight.
Next question, Doug. Can we do that one episode? Just fuck with everybody?
Yeah.
Like
yes.
One short, like one sentence answer.
It is within my capabilities.
Can Mind Pump answer the questions with one sentence?
Yeah. You know, when you're training strength athletes,
how about strong?
Yeah, well, MAP strong. Here's the deal: powerlifting, competing in powerlifting is very specific, right? They compete in 3 core lifts, right? Bench press, deadlift, and squat. So, of course, the goal is to get as good,
sharpen the hell out of those
as possible
lifts.
At those lifts, and then on top of it, you want to train all the support structures of the body for those lifts, all the things. So technique is, I think for powerlifters, technique is number one.
Yeah.
It's even more important than strength, because poor technique with good strength just results in injury.
Right.
So technique would be number one. Then you're focusing, obviously, strength on the core lifts, and then you're strengthening all the stabilizer muscles to prevent injury from happening. But when it comes to strength sports, especially one like powerlifting, it's very specific. You know what I mean? You're very specific with how you apply. Have you guys ever followed like a straight powerlifting routine with percentages of weight and all that?
I definitely want to use this as an opportunity
to and all that.
Share with our audience 2 of our really good friends that are tied to us that do this, that I think we have a lot of respect for, and I think you should follow if you don't follow on Instagram already, which is Ben Pollock, and then also Jordan Shallow. So Dr. Jordan Shallow, and now, by the way, Dr. Ben Pollock now. He finished his
nice.
So he's...
Why do they got to be strong and smart?
I know.
I don't like that.
That's why they're bad. Well,
can they sing
That's
too?
why Mind Pump fucks with them too, though.
Oh, yeah.
That's what, you know what I'm saying? Like, because there's a lot of power lifters out there that are strong as fuck because they have great genetics and they lift hella heavy weight, but then they don't know what the fuck they're doing. You're talking about 2 of the smartest guys in this little world. I highly recommend it, and they have programs. They both, in fact, we've discussed doing stuff with them in the future and creating something similar to this, and maybe that is something that we do. I know they currently have great stuff right now, but you should definitely be following them on Instagram. But you're right. I mean, you're going to be focusing on the main lifts, and then you have anything that supports that. And then the one thing too that powerlifters that's a little unique too is like you address like sticking points of a lift.
I was just going to talk about that. Yeah, and so they look into that with using bands or variable resistance to really then, address some of these sticking points in the lift. So you can actually segment, some of these gross motor movements and really isolate and and figure out like where the sticking points lie, and let's get better, from that position. Let's start from that position. Let's end from that position. Let's get the response we want, from that position.
Yeah. So an example of that would be, let's say your sticking point at your squat is at the bottom. Then something you may do is squat down, pause at the bottom for 2 or 3 seconds, and then come up. Or maybe do a box squat where you're starting from, without loading with the negative. Or let's say you have problem with lockout with your deadlift, then you could use chains to where, as you lift the weight gets, successively heavier. And you're lifting more at the top. It's basically
where it's hard. Like, you understand where in that lift is the hardest for you to like grind your way through it. And a lot of times, like, you're not summoning enough of that intrinsic force to then overcome, the load. There's an interruption there. There's a loss of connection. Yep. And so it's a matter of like using tools and techniques to address that.
A great starter program for a lifter who wants to maybe eventually
get into that.
Yeah, it would be MAPS Anabolic. Right. MAPS Anabolic it would be one that gets you good at those core lifts and focuses on overall strength. It's not a powerlifting program per se, but it's a great place to start.
It's like a good precursor.
Yeah, and then from there you could go to your more specific things. But here's the thing about powerlifting too, because it uses 3 main lifts: a deadlift, a squat, and a bench press. A lot of people think it's a well balanced strength sport. It's actually not. It's actually quite imbalanced. Everything's in the
sagittal plane.
Everything's in the sagittal plane, and there are some common injuries that you see. One of the best things a powerlifter can do, by the way, to prevent some of the most common injuries, which are low back and hip, are split stance squatting movements. Lunges and Bulgarian split squats are fantastic.
Well, this is
for powerlifters.
This is why I think it'd be really fun. I mean, we'll probably tackle this in the future. I feel pretty confident with the relationships that we have. The same way that we brought in Robert
My
Oberst.
wheels are already turning.
Right, the same way we brought in Robert Oberst to assist us when we're doing the strong. I'm sure that we'll do something with either Jordan Shallow or Ben Pollock and actually create something very similar, because I could see taking a lot of their experience and knowledge, but then also taking some of the things that I know that we would do differently, which is exactly what you just said, Sal, because this is something that I see in common in even some of the most elite guys. They're so hung up on only their PRs at the bench and at the deadlift and at the squat that they neglect to do a lot of things that will take care of them long.
They're still getting, injuries.
Well, not to pick on one of our other buddies, our other doctor buddy, Lane, but he gets hurt a lot. And you see him starting to try and incorporate, but he's being forced to incorporate more mobility. Like,
it's an afterthought still.
It should be programmed into every program. And one of the best ways you can do that is what you just said, Sal, is incorporating some unilateral work, which I just saw Ben starting to pick up in his routine that he had never even done. He wasn't even doing lunges, and you could see the way
see how hard it was to stabilize.
He wavered left to right.
The dude squats 600 pounds like butter, and then you see him do a lunge with 135, and you could just see how unstable that he was. And so, you're really strong at this one lift, but how important that is to complement those things. I think that's something that we would for sure program in.
And now I will say this: if somebody came to me and said, hey, Sal, let's say a guy comes to me and says, hey, what do you think is going to be better for me, for my body, and be better for me to learn about training and all that stuff? Should I start off by training and competing in a bodybuilding competition or training and competing in a powerlifting competition? I'll say powerlifting. For a female especially, if a female came to me and said, Sal, what should I do? Should I train and compete in bikini, or should I train and compete in powerlifting? I would say powerlifting. Why? Well, it's going to speed up your metabolism more. It's going to focus more on general functional strength, although it's still not super functional. And it also negates that crazy extreme dieting that I tend to see people do especially first timers when they get into those physique and bodybuilding and bikini competitions. That tends to damage people. So a lot of times when I get females asking me questions and saying they want to compete in something, I tell them, compete in powerlifting. Go ahead and sign up for powerlifting. It's still not the safest, best option. Far better than the sports where you're standing on stage and you're bleeding the fuck out of your body.
And we've said this since day one with Mind Pump. The programming is 100 times better. Like there's
actual programming,
right? When we talk shit about programs out there, and it's funny because I remember when we first were talking shit about programs in the fitness industry, we'd get people like, "Oh, what about starting strength? And what about this?"
No,
the guys that are teaching powerlifting, you know what I'm saying?
That's legit.
West Side,
they're fucking
barbell.
Yeah, they're legit.
Super legit.
But the bodybuilding community and the average gym goer and then the, whatever, chick that's doing crazy exercises on Instagram like that are putting it. Those are all the people that are putting, which is a majority. They're addressing a majority. They're 80% of the people following some program is following it from some whoever on Instagram or some social media star or somebody that's on a magazine. Those are the bullshit garbage programs. The legit ones that are out there are actually these guys and girls that have been around for a long time that are training for powerlifting because they do put so much emphasis on training those 3 lifts like a skill, and they are the foundation to almost every other lift that you will possibly do. So if you do approach your programming like that, it's a brilliant way to start anybody on lifting. You just don't need to go for some PRs and records, but follow the programming. I think is genius.
But some movements that I would incorporate with a powerlifter to both prevent injury and to increase their strength through stability are split stance exercises, lateral exercises, like a lateral lunge would be fantastic.
And rotational movements.
Rotational movements, stability for core type movements. So planks, side planks, those are going to be really, really phenomenal. I would recommend pull down movements for the lats, which a lot of them do anyway because they incorporate that in their bench press. Lots of internal, external rotation exercises for the shoulders. For the shoulders. And then when deadlifting, if you use an alternate grip, watch out. Make sure you alternate from right, supinated to left supinated, back and forth, or learn how to do a hook grip. Because I can tell you right now, I watch powerlifters all the time. I love the sport. And you can tell the guys that always pull with one particular type of side, and you can see it's uneven development in their back, and that's just because the supinated hand tends to retract the scapula a little bit, and sometimes you get bicep tears as a result as well.
Next question is from Exo Bethany. Fasted cardio versus fasted weightlifting. Which one is better, or are they the same?
Splitting hairs.
Ooh. It is splitting hairs. Yeah. It would matter on what your goal is,
what's your
right?
Preference, too.
Right, what you're trying to accomplish on whether you would do fasted cardio or fast. I think fasted weightlifting for someone who's trying to build is probably not the greatest strategy. I mean, I think if you're trying to build, you would probably like some glucose to push the lifts.
I don't think a lot of people do well. I feel like you can, but I feel like some people do actually need sustenance, going into their workouts, performance-wise.
Yeah, I personally do better fasted typically when I work out, but that's because I wake up and I train early in the morning. So if I did eat in the morning, it would be like 30 minutes before my workout, in which case that's probably too soon before my workout. If I worked out in the afternoon, I would probably want to eat something at least a couple hours before. Now, here's the thing. If your workout's going to be long and arduous and grueling, then you're probably going to want to have some food in your system from an hour or two before. And studies will show that your performance is going to be much better. If you're doing a traditional resistance training, 45 to 60-minute workout, you're probably going to be absolutely fine. And so with this, I always defer to the, it depends. It's up to the person. I've had clients that could not work out if they were fasted. It would make them nauseous.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. And most people can do light cardio, fasted versus the opposite, right? I've had the same experience where it's like kind of a 50-50, whether or not they're going to do well working out fasted.
Well, I don't even recommend true cardio, fasted at all. I think a lot of people confuse fasted cardio with fasted walking. That's what when I'm getting ready for a show.
Something like HIIT.
Well, no. When I'm getting ready for it, cardio is when you hit your cardio threshold, which means your heart rate's 145 plus, depending on the person.
Yeah.
That's pushing. That's pushing hard. And doing cardio. That's what cardio is. Cardio is not considered cardio until you break that threshold. Everyone's threshold is unique to the individual. A generic number is roughly 145 beats per minute is about when you hit that threshold.
Yeah, they're thinking I'm just going to walk on the treadmill at 2.5.
Right. So that is what I mean. I'm okay with that, fasted cardio for going in and walking, but pushing the body really hard like that while you're completely depleted, I'm not a fan of doing that, especially if you're in the competitive world where you're trying to hang on to all the muscle because you're sending a signal to the body like, hey, I'm depleted, I have no calories, and I'm pushing the body really hard for a long duration. Not a smart strategy for a competitor who wants to keep weight on, muscle mass on.
Here's what's interesting too. When you train really hard fasted, you get a very high and long-lasting growth hormone spike, which is great for fat loss. It's excellent for fat loss. When you eat that growth hormone drops significantly, and then insulin goes up. Now, insulin is, a lot of people don't know this, the most anabolic hormone in the body. It's more anabolic than even testosterone, but it's anabolic for everything. It can also make you store body fat. But it is also a very potent muscle builder. In fact, this is widely believed to be the reason why bodybuilders got so massive in the 90s and continue to be massive. There was just a huge contrast because they started to learn how to use insulin. And so if you want to build a lot of muscle, theoretically, eating before and eating after give you that insulin spike. It's going to be more anabolic. If you want to get lean, fasted theoretically is better because your growth hormone levels are high and your insulin levels are low, so you store less body fat and you burn more body fat. Now, what does the evidence suggest? The evidence suggests it almost doesn't matter. It's splitting hairs. If you're in a calorie deficit, you'll get lean. If you're not, you won't. It doesn't really make a huge difference. And if I were to list all the things that were important in regards to, things that'll affect your performance and muscle gain and all that stuff, whether or not you are fasted or not, it doesn't matter except for your preference. And if you really prefer one over the other because you notice there's a big difference, then go with that and don't worry about the other stuff.
Because you got to take into consideration your performance in those two things, right? Like how well you, and that was a big thing that I remember when Lane was busting that years back about the whole fasted cardio thing. It's like, well, if you do cardio fasted and it's like you're grueling to get through it and it's killing you to do it, all you had to do was eat and you can push on the cardio that 10% more. Well, the fact that you were fed and can push 10% more, you're going to get 5% more out of the cardio. So why go in fasted? The same thing goes for weight training. If you go into weight training fasted and you're sluggish and you can tell you don't have any energy and you feel flat and you can't, like I feel sometimes when I lift in a fasted state and it hinders my performance, well then it's a no-brainer that being fed into that lift would be more beneficial. So it's really that it's to each their own because it's splitting hairs on the difference of the science, which I think a lot of people get hung up on just so they can market and pitch something. It's really up to you. Like if you get up in the morning and do just fine getting on a piece of cardio equipment with no food in your system, then do it by all means. If you feel fine doing it weight training, then do it all means. But if it's hindering the performance, well then I would address that.
Dude, I'm curious. I'm hung up on, the bodybuilders like figuring out insulin. Like, do you know like the protocol with that by chance, or like, how would they inject it? Like one point, like do they do it before the workout, after the workout? What does that look like?
So this is based off of
post workout, and then
with
they
carbs,
and then they eat. Yeah,
like
then they load
like
carbs.
shitload of carbs.
Yeah.
But listen, this is on what we hear and do.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Insulin is a dangerous hormone to fuck with.
Right, because I know with testosterone and like I'm just curious about these things because this is all like that taboo stuff nobody talks about.
Oh
ever,
well, bodybuilders are fucking they're kamikaze scientists and they really figure this shit out through trial and error. But
definitely common, not very common in the men's physique. Although I can't speak for every men's physique athlete and say that none do it. I don't know any of the pros that were fucking with insulin on the men's physique category, but almost all the bodybuilders do.
The pros,
not even almost even the amateur bodybuilders. Like it's kind of a staple thing in the bodybuild. If you're going to get
such
big,
a dangerous hormone.
Because the guys like Sal saying in the 90s, they blew up so much because of that. That if you even are aspiring to be a pro bodybuilder one day and you're at the amateur level, most of them are already fucking with insulin even at the amateur level.
But again, such a dangerous hormone. You could literally put yourself in a coma, give yourself diabetes. Like it's and you know why bodybuilders,
you don't want to fuck with
why bodybuilders stayed away from insulin for a long time? Because it's been around for a long time. They stayed away from it because they thought it would make them fat. So bodybuilders didn't want to take
Which
it.
they definitely can.
It can,
but, if you don't do it right.
But they know how to do it now, and the way they use it now, and it puts muscle on. But I definitely don't recommend it. But what this question really highlights for me when I read stuff like this, because I remember early on as a personal trainer, we were taught that you never worked out fasted. You always ate before and you always ate after. That's what we were taught. But one of the things that I love about the fact that we've all trained so many, thousands of people is that our experience teaches us it depends. The answer is it depends. I've had enough clients that do better fasted, and I've had enough clients that do better fed to know that there is no correct answer to this question.
You know how I like to address this or approach this with my own self personally is I like to play with it.
Yeah.
I like to do it fasted sometimes. I like to do it fed sometimes. Both of them, because I subscribe to the, more like, what Dr. Andy Galpin talks about, which is we're either optimizing or adapting. And then I do the same thing with my nutrition. Like if I've been eating in a certain pattern, I love to break it up. I just did this the other day. I mean, I've never done this before. And the reason why I did it was because I've never done it before. And I thought, well, this would be a cool way to do a mild stress on the body where I do this long 24 plus hour fast and then I feed all in one meal. I've just never done that before. And because it's going to change, it's going to make some sort of change in my body because my body's never experienced that before. And so I kind of think that way when I address things like this. It's like, well, if you've never done the fasted cardio thing before, well, why don't you give it a try and see how you feel when you do it and see this response that your body gives you? And is it something that you like doing or not? And if you've been doing it for a really long time, try doing it fed. See how that is,
Next question is from Ricky Rondineff. How do you properly train a person with thyroid problems?
Anytime you train somebody who has hormone issues or hormonal imbalances, the key to understand in training them is that, exercise is a stress on the body. And the reason why they have a hormone imbalance many times is that their body's not handling stress very well or maybe overwhelmed. Functional medicine doctors will call like HPA axis dysfunction, for example, where the hypothalamus, the pituitary, and the adrenals that all communicate with each other is just off. And so you have these hormone imbalances. And so when I train people and they come to me and they say, I have Hashimoto's or, I have thyroid issues, I'm on medication or I need to go on medication. My goal with the training is really to try to bring their body more into balance. Now, what does that look like? Well, it depends on the person, but many times what it looks like is if we do resistance training, it's traditional strength training at a moderate intensity.
Yes.
I almost never beat the crap out of them.
Worst case you could do, and what I've caught with these people, I'm glad you picked this question because I got asked on my Instagram the other day, and it was like, this is not a short answer because there are so many variables. But if this is the case, like I'm very, very delicate with how I push them because, like you're saying, like they're already stressed as it is, and more than likely that's part of what's throwing them off. Whether it be a ton of stress that they have at work, they're not sleeping very well, they've been punishing their body before, they're on different medications. Like there's normally a lot of these other variables that's causing a thyroid issue. And so my goal is to take like each one of those little things and start to address them. Like let's just talk about sleep. And that's the whole conversation. Like let's improve upon that. And then like Sal's saying, if I am weight training, it's more recuperative than it is like trying to push them. The last thing they need is some sort of Orange Theory class or some sort of HIIT type of training.
Well, that's exactly what people with thyroid problems who don't know any better go towards.
Right.
Because, if you have low thyroid, for example, then you're having trouble losing weight, so you think I'm going to go beat myself up. If you have too much thyroid and you're anxious or whatever, you may actually feel some relief from working out real hard because you get that feeling afterwards. Both of which is totally wrong. In both situations, you don't want to hammer the body. They just make things a lot worse. What you want to do with that individual is you want to train them appropriately, and it's typically a moderate intensity, traditional strength training, but the majority of the training looks like mobility, looks like stretching, looks like working on range of motion, focusing on sleep and possibly things like meditation. And diet. Diet is a big one.
Improve their gut health.
Gut health is huge with HPA axis dysfunction.
This is one of the big things too, because Courtney has a bit of a thyroid issue too, and just addressing the gut health very much more specifically has done wonders as far as her being able to lower her medication down, and also just bring her back to a little bit more of a balanced hormone profile. So. That just addressing that's such a big piece to this puzzle.
Yeah, what happens with your hormones, when hormones are elevated for a long time, for whatever reason, because your hormones get affected by your lifestyle, your food, even your moods and your thoughts, right? When they get elevated for too long, your body tries to balance itself because your body's always seeking balance. It always wants to be in homeostasis. And so if one hormone is really high, then counter hormones or antibodies can get raised to offset it, or what happens also is receptors that those hormones attach to start to downregulate, and then you start to feel normal with a hormone imbalance, and then that can become a problem because then you become further desensitized later on down the road. So you'll see this many times. Sometimes people have cortisol resistance even from being high stress all the time. It's funny because these people with cortisol resistance will feel fantastic from doing
train hard.
from doing high stress things because it squirts out more cortisol, and then they start to feel normal, not realizing that that's the opposite of what they should do.
I've been saying this on the show forever that most people gravitate to the things that they shouldn't be doing. Yeah. Like the types of classes, like the people that I see, and I remember seeing this at Orange Theory, I remember seeing this at boot camps, I remember seeing this in the gym, doing the circuits and the hits. The people
cortisol junkies.
Yes, the people that love those are the type A high performers, don't sleep very well at night, fucking punish the worst people. That's the worst thing that you could
just reiterating all that stress and just compiling it,
and
internally.
They think because they get that rush that you're talking about afterwards, try telling that person it's not for them.
They'll be like, but it makes me feel so good.
I feel so good. I feel so good afterwards. I feel, no shit you do. Yeah. So does a junkie every time they stick a needle in their arm.
That's it.
Next up is Camarones 811. What are some good strategies to implement for someone on a lower income that still wants to eat quality ingredients?
There's a bit of a myth out there.
Prioritize it.
Yeah, well, there's a myth out there that eating healthy.
I don't know if it's a total myth, bro.
Here's why it's
calorie for calorie. It's not a myth.
I'll tell you why it's a myth. If you go to restaurants and you go and buy advertised super healthy food and super organic and all that stuff, it is more expensive because they're catering to a wealthy market.
Right.
If you go buy the basics. Rice is cheap as fuck.
Right.
Well,
organic chicken, you can find that shit in bulk, cheap as fuck. You could buy tuna fish, very inexpensive.
Yeah, but
no, it's buying the stuff that's already made is more expensive.
Yes.
That's quality.
Absolutely. And here's the other thing: you want to buy organic, non-GMO type stuff.
It's not that. It's not that. It's the argument is that shittier food is still cheaper. That's a fact.
It's very cheap and easy.
That's not a fact. That's a fact. Even your points you're making right now, organic chicken is more expensive than regular chicken.
Well, hold on a second. Now there's another point I want to make here. You are calculating just the cost of the food, but that's not the only cost of the food. When you eat cheap, bad food for you, and you're looking at it and you're saying, I'm saving $50 on my weekly food bill by going with this garbage food. That's not the only thing. That's not the only cost associated with that food.
How much does your medication cost?
Your health can become quite fucking expensive. Your lack of productivity.
That's fair. I mean, that's fair to say that, but to also say that there's like this myth of like it being that.
That's why I'm saying there's a myth. It's the myth. There's two reasons why there's a myth. One is that there's a myth that eating healthy is ridiculously expensive.
Well, yeah, it's not ridiculously expensive.
Yeah, but it's not. And then the other one is because look at fruits, vegetables, like I said, chicken, rice, oatmeal, like they're all actually quite inexpensive. You can buy them in bulk, and if you want to go organic, which isn't the most important thing, but sure, that's also important, you can also find them today relatively inexpensive. And then you have sites like Thrive Market, which is non-GMO, huge selection of organic foods, and the prices there are comparable. Like you can buy.
Yeah, I mean, I love Thrive Market for that too. But like, we don't really highlight the fact with Butcher Box, like how convenient that is to get like really high quality, grass finished, grass fed beef. That's like. That to me has always been a barrier because it's like going to the butcher or whatever to get that meat has been really expensive, and then it's inconvenient, and then they figured that one out, dude. I was always stoked on that.
I'll tell you what the huge problem is. It isn't the price, it's convenience.
Right.
Shitty food is super convenient.
Yeah.
Now I get that. Like if you're a mom or your dad or a dad and you've got kids,
you just microwave it,
and it's after
ready to go already.
Yeah, after work you pick up your kid, you take him to soccer practice. Oh shit, we're done with soccer practice. It's 6:30. Yeah. McDonald's, I can get a meal for my whole family for $20, and it's fast. Yeah. That's where we get the problem. Right. That's the issue. Or
they're beating health food on that.
And that's to me, that's the real truth. The real truth is that it comes down to more of that, because you're right. There's definitely inexpensive. I just answered Enzo. Enzo asked me this question on his YouTube. So if you're not following Enzo's vlog that he does, it's really good. And he asked me this, like, for a high school kid. Did he tell
you to bring him up to get him subscribers right now?
No, I've been hooking him up. He's doing really good. It's actually it's been fun to watch him build
he's been jumping up. That's why I ask. He's doing well.
Yeah, he is. So the thing that I said was the go-to for me. I love to go get the rotisserie chicken that's for fast, right? So I'm trying to complement like what you're saying.
It's like $5, right?
Yeah,
that is
like $5. You get the whole chicken. And it's really good. They don't put a bunch of shit in it and everything like that. It's pumped full of sodium, so they shoot some sodium in there, and water. So you're definitely taking that in, but that ain't bad. You're fine. So a rotisserie chicken, and you get a rice cooker. You pop that sucker in, and you can steam the veggies in the inside one of those.
I still love George Foreman grills, man.
Like you still rock that, huh?
Dude, when I was batching it,
I used that a lot as a bachelor.
Because then you could still get like getting meat and veggies or whatever. Like you can just grill it all together and then you're done. It's really convenient.
Well, that's how I cook. So I use my grill, right?
Yeah, I
grill up for. And again, it's how important is it to you?
Yeah.
Like if I had a client sitting across from me and they used it, I would call them on their shit. I'd just be like, "Are you just making excuses not to get in shape because it takes one more step?"
It does.
You obviously don't want it that way, which is fine. And that's how I tell people. I say, "Listen, it's not a priority to you. And one day it probably will be, though, when your health is in a situation where you have to," which is unfortunate that we think this way.
And that's what it is. You have to kind of paint it that way, because I've had this conversation with many, many clients, and I tell them, I say, make a list of the most important things that you believe you need to prioritize in your life. And when we sit there and we talk about it and we make a list, health is number one. It's at the top, because if you don't have your health, it doesn't matter what the other priorities are. I don't care if your priorities are your kids. I don't care if it's your job. I don't care if it's your spouse. If you don't have your health, all those other priorities don't mean shit.
Not only does it not mean shit, but it's also crazy. And I challenge someone to ask themselves truly this, like that's been in shape and out of shape. All those things that are so important to you. Envision yourself completely out of shape, experiencing all those things, and envision yourself in the best shape of your life. And the experience itself is enhanced 10 times.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
All things.
Yeah, it's not even just that you'll die sooner, you'll get sick, and you'll be on medicine. Forget that. Your quality of life goes down the shitter when you're not.
All your abilities go away.
All you have to do, and here's a great thing about health. This is what I love about health so much. And this is why I love why we're in the market of health, because we're selling a product, or we're selling something that makes everything better.
Everybody benefits.
There's nothing else I can think of that does that. If you improve your health and your vitality, anything else that you do is better. I don't give a fuck what it is. I don't care what it is. I don't care if you do drugs. I don't care if you go gamble in Vegas. That shit's way more fun when you're healthy. I don't care if you like to do
you want
work
to bang
hard.
Hookers in shape.
I don't care. I don't care what you like to do. If you've got better health and more vitality, it's better because you're healthy. And so it's like the number one thing you should prioritize. And when you do, everything else gets better. Not only that, but you'll probably make more money. You'll be more productive. You'll have better relationships. You'll be a better example to your kids. Your kids will be healthy, which means they'll suffer from less depression, less anxiety. Like, I can't think of anything more important than that. So the reason why I'm saying that is, yes, shitty food is more convenient, but is it really? Yes, sometimes it could be cheaper.
Right, in the short term.
But is it really? Right. It's not. Absolutely not. So what I like to tell people when they say, I can't afford to eat healthy, I tell them, you can't afford not to eat healthy. And with that, listen, go to mindpumpfree.com. We have guides on there, absolutely free for everybody. Also, 5 days left for the MAPS Strong launch.
Get strong.
$30 off.
Everybody.
This is crazy. It's flying off the shelves. I think we only have 3 left.
3 left.
The virtual shelves are coming down. Oh, shit.
There's only 3 left. If you go to mapsstrong.com, MAPSSTRONG.com, and use the code STRONG30, that's the word strong with the number 30, no space, you'll get $30 off, and you'll get a free t-shirt. Remember, this promotion ends Sunday the 16th.
Thank you for listening to Mind Pump. If your goal is to build and shape your body, dramatically improve your health and energy, and maximize your overall performance, check out our discounted RGB Super Bundle at mindpumpmedia.com. The RGB Super Bundle includes MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, and MAPS Aesthetic. 9 months of phased expert exercise programming designed by Sal, Adam, and Justin to systematically transform the way your body looks, feels, and performs. With detailed workout blueprints and over 200 videos, the RGB Super Bundle is like having Sal, Adam, and Justin as your own personal trainers, but at a fraction of the price. The RGB Super Bundle has a full 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can get it now plus other valuable free resources at mindpumpmedia.com. If you enjoy this show, please share the love by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes and by introducing Mind Pump to your friends and family. We thank you for your support, and until next time, this is Mind Pump.